Adult learners and technology, using interactive media to increase knowledge and productivity. My name is Drew McSherry, and I am currently working for Crisis Preparation and Recovery Incorporated, based in Scottsdale, Arizona. We are a behavioral health provider and specialize in crisis counseling, severely mentally ill or SMI evaluations, and outpatient services. Before switching to the corporate field in December of 2009, I spent 5 years teaching advanced placement economics at Desert Ridge High School in Mesa, Arizona. I had initially started my action research based on my classroom setting. However, after changing careers, I felt that I wanted to focus on a current need of my new company. As I began to become familiar with certain procedures and eventually placed in charge of supervising 20 counselors and their personal call logs, I started to become aware of how many mistakes were being made on their Excel spreadsheets. As time went by, I got to know the evaluators and counselors, and I realized that I was dealing with a majority of digital immigrants who had little to no formal training on Microsoft Excel. Their skills were almost entirely based on trial and error, with a general lack of basic Excel knowledge permeating the group as a whole. I then started to ask informally about how we could improve the process, how they prefer to be trained, and came away with the idea of creating video tutorials to teach them basic Excel knowledge. After viewing the current research and hypothesizing, I came up with my official action research project statement. Adult learners learn more effectively and retain more information if it is presented to them using interactive media such as Adobe Flash and screen capturing software. Looking at the current research, Pohl, Yolks, and Marsick state that learning is directly tied to a trial and error experience of the learners, which is in many ways more consistent with learning through experience. However, my colleagues were using trial and error and they still weren't successful. Why? The problem is that they suffered from what Benzik calls functional illiteracy, or a lack of technological knowledge. And as I stated before, most of the counselors were digital immigrants, and this seemed to answer why the trial and error approach was having limited results. So how does a company combat functional illiteracy? Well, Newman suggests continuing education is an excellent way to offer employees a chance to learn and work with new technologies. As employees learn new skills, they will become more productive, efficient workers, and have higher personal job satisfaction, according to Borum 2002. So my task was to find a way to use continuing education as a means to fix the lack of technological knowledge. I knew I did not want to provide a traditional training where everyone would meet in a classroom setting and I would get up in front and lecture for hours. Not only did this not appeal to any of the evaluators I spoke with, but I knew after months of FSO that there had to be a better way. Another reason was that a major limitation of the instructor-led model is that the student must be able to participate at a specific time and a specific place, according to Newman. Trying to get close to 20 counselors to not see clients, meet at the same time and place, and pay them for training was out of the question. So this further cemented the need for a project-based or interactive media design training that will allow the counselors to complete the trainings on their own time, wherever and whenever they had internet access. Now I wanted to make sure that the information and spreadsheet model I used was based on their work experience, and by shifting from the lecture being a medium in which information was transmitted and consumed into being a platform in which content was created, shared, remixed, repurposed, and passed along, according to Downs, I was able to relinquish the power of the lecturer and hand it over to the counselors and evaluators. In the 21st century, knowledge sharing is needed, not knowledge hoarding. Ashton and Newman. And this is what I was trying to accomplish. Continuing education for adults in the corporate setting can be very effective if it follows two main ideas. One, striving for work process knowledge, and two, creating classes and programs that keep the worker motivated. According to Borum, 2002, the concept of work process knowledge is based on the premise that much of the knowledge that guides and supports work is created through the process of work itself, which means to possess work process knowledge implies that one has a systems level understanding of the work process in the organization as a whole. If each employee knows why their job is important within the entire scheme of the operation, then they will realize how vital each part is to the overall success of the company. Instead of doing the job just for the paycheck, the employee will understand how their cog makes the machine run and instill a feeling of ownership within them. Park 2009 states that internal factors such as course design strategies and learners' motivation should be prioritized as the course development stage in order to make the course participatory and interesting. Another key component of successful technology integration is using clear and simple language and navigational mechanisms on web pages, according to Burgstaller, which will help facilitate usage. So by using Adobe Flash and ScreenFlow, this will help guarantee these priorities by adding interactive and graphic-rich videos to make the risk appraisal and management learning experience more inclusive and exciting, according to Charrett, Willis, and Price, 2009. By combining the aspects of work, process knowledge, and creative courses, companies can strive to motivate their employees to not only finish the courses, but also flourish. We'll now look at what I used to create my action research project. After looking at and creating practice quizzes on 3 different sites, I decided to go with Quiblo.com. The main reason why I chose Quiblo.com was because I can view each question individually to see which ones were missed as well as which answer they chose. This was indispensable information I then used to help see where the knowledge gaps were and what to focus on for the tutorials. Ever since my DAE class, I was jonesing to use Adobe Flash again on a bigger scale. And after the research concluded that interactive and graphic-rich videos were the way to go, I had my chance. I love how Flash allows you to create an entire platform to incorporate videos, interactivity with buttons, and the ability to create review questions that are not scored while allowing the user to use trial and error to get the right answer. Plus the fact that with a few changes to the final HTML file, it can be put into my public iDisk so that anyone with internet access is able to view it whenever they need it, and it was a perfect fit for my action research project. ScreenFlow was an easy choice to capture what was happening on my screen and then turn it over to edit in iMovie. I basically did a mock run-through out loud while working with the spreadsheets, and then used iMovie to record a voiceover that was easy to manipulate in bits and pieces. After having my critical friends review the first couple of completed tutorials, it was suggested that the background music was a nice touch, so I added it to the rest of the lessons. After my coworkers had about 2 weeks to watch the tutorials, they took the post-quiz, and here are the results of the pre- and post-quizzes. One of the great things about CPR is that not only did all the counselors take part, but the number basically doubled with the office staff, evaluators, and my critical friends joining in. The results for the pre-quiz were lower than I thought, with only 3 receiving an A, 12 who failed, and the average score of the 42 quizzes was 69%. The post-quiz results were a blessed sight, as 13 received A's and 75% received an 80% or higher. One of the learning objectives I set at the beginning of the project was to increase the average score by at least 10%, so it was nice to make that a reality. Ah, the beauty of quality tutorials that led to higher scores represented by this wonderful shade of blue. Go ahead, just take a look, let it soak in. Alright, here's some interesting facts. 12 to 31. Those who received an 80% or higher, an increase of 45% from the pre to post quiz. 24 to 7. Those who received a 69% or lower, which was a decrease of 40% from the pre to post quiz. By combating the functional illiteracy described by Bensick 2009, companies empower their employees with new skills that will help increase production, and allowing the employees to develop their abilities as well as their knowledge is a key component for successful adult learners. Creating continuing education classes that adhere to simple principles such as ease of operation and including media-rich content will increase completion. As the research shows, adults in the workforce can increase their knowledge and productivity through the proper application of technology. I am very pleased with not only the results, but more importantly the process of how to put it together, and a quality lesson that allows adults to learn and retain information. It has been great to hear from my colleagues weeks later stating how much they have used some of the techniques they learned from the tutorials, and how much easier it has been to produce what they need. When I started the Action Research Project, I had no idea what to expect, but now that this first one is complete, I look forward to finding more ways to implement new action research into my company. If you have any questions, comments, or constructive criticism, please email me at drewmcsherry@me.com. Thank you.